From the streaming service that brought us Thrash, we get Apex. So is Charlize Theron better than sharks eating people during a hurricane? Yes, yes, the answer will always be yes. Netflix released their newest survival thriller, Apex, directed by, and forgive me if I destroy the name, Baltazar Kormaker, who also directed Everest, which I happen to like for what it was. Now, we've got some great supporting characters, but only Eric Bana makes a real impact in any category. So instead, we're alone with Charlize Theron as Sasha and Taron Egerton as Ben for the majority of the 95-minute runtime. So the story is pretty straightforward. We meet Sasha and Tommy and their love of rock climbing. He's open about hanging up the harness for good, but Sasha reminds him they've had this conversation before and he always ends up on the side of the mountain with her. So during the entire opening sequence, all I can tell you is that my hands were sweating because I'm absolutely terrified of heights, and that is a running theme throughout this entire film. But beyond that, it is clear that Sasha is a very independent character, but she also feels this need to constantly push. She doesn't slow down, even if the situation calls for it. Now, after that opening sequence climb, we do see that Sasha's in Australia in some national forest. She's looking for the rush of water rapids because she has given up climbing. Now, the wall is covered with missing posters, and the ranger warns her that people go missing there and she shouldn't go alone. She hits the local store, meets local misogynist fools, and Ben, a nice guy who makes his own jerky. She buys some, gets gas, and Ben tells her the best place to camp and get into the canyon that she wants. And that is the beginning of the cat and mouse game that is both interesting, but against recent films like Send Help, does it hold its own? Jumping right into the positives, I already mentioned it, but I like Baltazar's previous film direction, and Apex is also good. There's interesting moving shots as the action flows during the chase. He kind of chooses these angles that sometimes feel claustrophobic, as if there's no real place to hide for her from him, but yet then pans back to these wide open shots. Yeah, there's CGI, I'll get to that later. Those massive visuals kind of let you know how much space she actually has to hide, but yet also makes you feel even more isolated because there's nobody around to save her. I know it's been done before, but seeing Sasha on a cliff, looking over the vast expanse after crawling through this small little rock formation is kind of a great way to show how trapped she really is without making it feel like The Descent, if that makes sense. Then there's this scene where Sasha's actually hanging off a rock face, and it's a wide shot. Her feet are torn up. Her hands are struggling for a grip. But the way the camera just follows her and shows the potential to fall and how high up she is. My hands were clammy again, but it gives you that emotional connection to the tension, and you feel how difficult this is, and you feel how any mistake is endgame, and it really works to add that level of tension and fear and concern. Next, we have Charlize Theron, who, from what I found online, actually learned how to rock climb for this project. And I saw some videos on social media that she actually rock climbed the billboard in Times Square that supported the movie Apex. So that was pretty awesome. But she makes you feel the underlying trauma of that original event that started the movie and how it eats her up inside, but she's not really saying anything. And she's very good at this. Like all of her films, Charlize Theron has had a way of emoting without necessarily needing dialogue. You can see the defense mechanisms, front and center. It's in her face, it's in her eyes, and it's very real. She's a strong woman who keeps pushing harder and harder and harder to overcome, I guess, whatever obstacle is in her way, regardless of the consequences, physically or mentally. She isn't a victim per se, but she makes you feel the weight of this guilt that makes her a villain in someone else's story, if not her own. So she eats up the scenery and she makes you believe her. But what is the prey if you don't have a hunter? And Taron Egerton is great as Ben. Truthfully, his performance actually reminded me of James McAvoy in Split. He's the calm guy at first. He's helpful. He wants to show her the best place to go kayaking and how to get to the canyon. He makes his own jerky, names it after his mom. And he seems like the good guy who's just trying to do what's right and survive in a world that is kind of, crazy. Then he's dancing to pop music to hype himself up for the hunt before flipping to this complete psycho who toys with his prey. And frankly, Taron is creepy as hell in this role. As an aside, there's one scene where he takes out, I guess, dentures and he shows his teeth. And they absolutely remind me of the Gormagon character in Bones. If you haven't seen it, Google it. You'll know what I'm talking about. Now, finally, I might be pulling this out of thin air, but there seems to be a theme here of running from your guilt or your past. Sasha's always pushing for whatever reason. After that traumatic event, Sasha tries to outrun her pain, and Ben is literally the physical form of it. She's never free of him. He's always one step ahead of her, and it's all consuming. Like I said, he torments her constantly, and the visuals and the direction and everything else, it hones in on that. And it makes it feel like trauma you bury so deep down and you think you've locked it in a trunk, but the lock's broken and eventually it's coming to the surface and you have to face it. And if that was an intentional thing, good on them. But do I have any more positives? Honestly, I can't say I do. What I can say is Charlize Theron plays a great, strong, female, badass character, but I'm still waiting for Atomic Blonde 2. So if the producers are watching this, which I know they're not, I would really like an update on that production to see it actually in filming right now, but neither here nor there. So on to the negatives. The story is so thin. It has been done before, and Apex feels so predictable. Now, this might just be me, but that tragic event in the beginning where Eric Bana's on the mountain with Sasha, and they're having all the conversations. He's telling you he's done with this. He wants to hang up. She keeps pushing him. He keeps saying he's done. She wants to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and wants to summit. She's got summit fever. All of this stuff's going on. It's like telegraphed for you what's going to happen. And it's easy to see it happening. And it's easy to understand why, because you know something has to happen to get her to the second point. So it almost feels super easy to understand. And part of me is like, was it even necessary to go into that and show that? And maybe they could have shown it in flashbacks instead or in some other way. I don't know. So when I watch movies, I take notes. If something sticks with me, if there's a line of dialogue or a scene or something comes across that I want to reference in these reviews, I always write it down. When we saw Ben, when he brings this product that he sells in the local store, it's the first time we meet him. And yet in my notes, I wrote what I thought the origin of the materials he used to make that product was. And to keep it spoiler free, I am not going to say what the product is. I'm sure somebody else online has. Let's just say, because I'm a writer and I sometimes have a twisted mind, that's where it came from. And I was correct. So that's either, again, the telegraphing because they wanted it to be telegraphed, or it's a thin script that needed more red herrings to keep us guessing until the confrontation happened. Also, the script has these moments during the film that are so illogical to me. So one scene, Sasha sees a canoe and it's tied up and Ben is nearby and she doesn't want to disturb him or be caught. Fine, makes sense. She goes under the water, she's trying to undo the knot, and then this, I guess a bear trap, but without the teeth, snaps on her ankle. It doesn't break skin, but it literally snaps against bone. I'm not a doctor, but as a former athlete with multiple surgeries under my belt, how in the hell was she walking normally without swelling or broken bones? I mean, it looked like maybe she had a limp for a little bit, but I just didn't get it. There's also this other scene where Sasha climbs up the riverbank and she's climbing over some rocks because she hears voices and she's like, oh my God, they're going to save me. We all feel, oh my God, she's saved. And it turns out to be a cell phone playing a video of previous victims. I get that this was supposed to add fear and tension, that Ben is always around because he knows the lay of the land better than her, et cetera, et cetera. But it feels so super convenient. What would happen if she didn't come up the bank at that side? I swear I hear the ding from CinemaSins right now. It just would have been great to get an inkling as to how he was tracking her and where he was, and having him set it up to kind of pull her in and then see her reaction to it. It wasn't necessary. In fact, it might have been better to show him viewing it on the phone and forcing her to watch, maybe scrolling through all the previous victims to show how ingrained he is in this behavior. Now, I mentioned in the beginning, I liked the opening scene, that there was some CGI and I'd get to it. here we are. The opening scene looks good. There are some sequences that look really, really good, and my hands were clammy. I was feeling that height. I didn't like it. But the film suffers from spots of what I call streaming CGI that look really, really obvious, and it takes you out of it. If it was budgetary reasons, they could have cut costs elsewhere to ensure they had enough money for the CGI on a film where literally believability depends on that CGI being good. And what makes it worse is that there are actually spots where it looks really good and others where it looks like you're watching a really original sci-fi movie from way back in the day and not in a good way. So what's the verdict? Apex doesn't reinvent or even expand the survival thriller genre. It's a super safe entry with a cast that actually elevates the thin material. And that's really the only reason why this film is a fun watch. But in a year that Send Help hit theaters with a well-rounded production that really landed the plane, there's just no way that Apex can compete with that. So that's why I'm giving Apex the rating of stream it. Now, I know what you're saying, Kimberly, it's on Netflix. Of course, we're going to stream it, but stream it for us is 3 stars. If the film was in theaters, I couldn't condone spending the $20 just for a ticket before the snacks to see it. So make popcorn at home, drop on the couch, have a nice drink handy, and watch Charlize Theron be a badass. Could be worse ways to spend your evening. But let me know in the comments below if you've seen Apex, plan on seeing it, or if you're just afraid of heights like I am. And as always, if you like content like this, smash that subscribe button to stay up to date with our reviews and reactions. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm gods. And until next time, stay safe, be kind, and remember, if you don't know where the beef jerky came from, don't eat it. Just don't eat it, trust me, please. Blech.